Welcome to Jets Talk. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot. We are talking a little action, possibly really exciting action if it is true, and that is Aaron Rodgers, according to Adam Schefter, he thinks will either retire or be traded to the New York Jets. He does not believe other teams are involved, and he does not think that the Packers are ultimately going to be a option for Aaron Rodgers. So let's go over to the article that this was mentioned in. So according to Adam Schefter, my sense is there continues to be more and more signs about him leaving Green Bay. I think in the end, my sense is ultimately it will come down to whether he wants to play elsewhere, which would really be the New York Jets, or whether he wants to retire. To me, those are the two most logical options and the two most likely scenarios here. But again, we have not heard from Aaron Rodgers himself. We have heard the Packers talk about Jordan Love and how much belief they have in him and how much progress he's made. And I think he's their quarterback of the future here, clearly. And they continue to wait for the decision from Aaron Rodgers. Who knows at some point in time, he said the Packers have had conversations about him with other teams. And that's why I believe that it's going to be either New York Jets or retirement in the end. And we'll show. Words are hard today. And we'll show how it shakes out. But there's nothing yet from Aaron Rodgers. It has to come soon. We are basically under 2 weeks until the start of the league year. We await his word at some point. Something's going to have to happen here because Derek Carr's waiting to see where Aaron Rodgers wants to go. These teams need decisions from the quarterbacks, and everything right now is being hung up while we wait to hear from number 12. All right, so thought process is there. It seems like this is a lot of Adam Schefter kind of just putting puzzle pieces together. We've already heard from Aaron Rodgers about, Schefter and Rappaport not having anyone within Aaron Rodgers' circle. But that doesn't mean this information can't still be had without Aaron Rodgers' input at all. You're talking, his option of maybe wanting to go back to the Packers may be taken off the table because they are so infatuated with Jordan Love. And that's what it sort of seemed like, at least on the surface level these last few weeks as we're going through the different news clippings and conversations. Rodgers perks up his ears oh, it's weird they're having conversations without me. That's odd. He says that on the Pat McAfee show. He goes into darkness. He's probably contemplating at that point, oh man, 4 days in the darkness. I got to decide if I want to go play in the darkness of New York City and be sad with the Jet fans, or am I going to retire and hang it up? But you're leaving $110 million on the table. Come on. I know which decision I'm making. Give me the 110 and come to the Jets. But he would be following in the footsteps of one Brett Favre, who he's been trying to distance himself from the entire time that he's been in the NFL. So if his story does wind up coming full circle and playing for the New York Jets the same way Brett Favre did, I really hope it ends a little bit better. 8-3 at the time of Brett Favre's injury, and the Jets were first place in the AFC, were trending high, and then everything goes kaput, and Brett Favre winds up saying, screw it, I'm done with the media, I'm not going to come back and play, I'm going to retire. Jets release him, he then goes on to have an amazing season with the Minnesota Vikings the following year. So I'm hoping if Rodgers wants to play, it's because he wants to play, and it's not just because we're dangling a $110 million carrot over his face for the next 2 years. I want a motivated Rodgers. And if Rodgers thinks he doesn't have the option of going back to Green Bay, and he comes, hey, my only option to play, you're telling me is to go to the New York Jets? Well, now I'm pissed off at you. And the last time Rodgers got pissed off, he won 2 back-to-back MVPs with our offensive coordinator. That's the type of motivation you might be getting with an Aaron Rodgers. And I feel like I'm a yo-yo. I'm getting zipped up and down every 10 minutes. I'm getting beat up, thinking, okay, I want Carr. No. Now I want Rodgers. I can't make up my damn mind. Everything that comes out, it's something new and ridiculous. So I guess the idea is the 110 enough to convince Rodgers? I would think it probably is. I don't think he's done yet. But I don't know if he's contemplating retirement. If he's genuinely thinking about it, it's not just a power play. When you have one foot out the door, it's really hard to be as motivated as you once were. We already saw him skip out on some of the voluntary workouts this past year, and not having that chemistry with his wide receivers ultimately may have cost the Packers their playoff shot because they did not win enough games earlier in the season. So if you're getting 100% motivated Rodgers, I think you're in a good spot. Now, as far as everything else, I have no idea where they're going to go. No idea. Could go anywhere. Are they going to, when is this going to happen? Because right now we're sitting, what are we at? We're on March 3rd, right? Friday. We got to have an answer in the next week, right? It's got to be. All right, let's see what you guys are talking about in the chat. Finger Lakes Jet fan, I don't think I'm going to put that comment on the screen, but thank you for the laugh. Oh, Taps Any Button. Taps Any Button says, how many times has this worked out for us? I don't know. I mean, it almost worked out with Favre. Hennessy Heisman says, no way he's leaving $110 million on the table. Rodgers would go to the Dolphins before he retires. That's what, sort of throws me for a loop on this. Like, the Dolphins seem like a really attractive destination if I'm Aaron Rodgers. Like, I don't understand how Schefter only thinks it's the Jets or the Packers. Like, are the Dolphins so, involved with Tua that they don't want to attempt the swing at Aaron Rodgers? That seems like a mistake. I really think that's actually a really good spot for him. Three Amigos, New Jersey says, retire. Not a fan of filling seats at this cost. Let's be great organically. That's where a lot of people fall on the Aaron Rodgers thing, I think. It's the passion of wanting to develop your own quarterback and watch him grow. And I think going the Aaron Rodgers route is actually our best shot at doing just that because of Zach Wilson sitting behind him. And I don't think it's their, ultimate, decision on who they're picking because of Zach Wilson, but I think having Rodgers is a really good chance to maybe develop him. You don't have to make a decision on Zach for another year and a half. AGC says, I think he goes somewhere else or retires. I think we're wasting our time waiting on him. I definitely don't want to wait too long. If he starts playing games, everyone's got to start making some moves. Jimmy Jet says, he's Aaron Rodgers. If anyone leaves 110 on the table, it's him. Yeah, he would do that out of spite almost. But at the same time, I go back to okay, he's made $300 million in his career to this point. Is he really going to leave 110 on the table for 2 years? That seems like a really surprising move. Scott V says, I think he returns to Packers. This is becoming an annual thing. I don't think so. I think this is the year they move on from him. They should have moved on from him last year. That was the mistake they made. They gave him the contract this year and they screwed up. Rocket the One. Headphones activated. Sorry if I'm yelling. Let's see. Where else are you guys talking about? RP Eagles says, why do I feel if we get Rodgers, this will bite us in the end. This will bite us in the rest and in the long run. Yeah, I feel like that's always the case, right? We never come out on top. JetLife45 says, at this point, there's so many pros and cons with both players, in my opinion, but at this point, just get one of them. Yeah, I'm exhausted. I'm absolutely beat to death on this whole quarterback thing. I like talking about it. It's fun for getting you guys fired up, but my head's going to explode if we don't get an answer too soon. Betty Blanco says, if he's contemplating retirement, he's not worth a first-round pick. If we're the only team that he might be able to go to, he's not going to be worth a first-round pick anyway. That's the most exciting thing about this. This dude's going to be traded for a second and a conditional first if we make the Super Bowl. So in the off chance we don't make a Super Bowl next year, it's probably 2 second-round picks. I'll take that all day. Let's see. Rock the One says, I don't really care if it's Rodgers or Carr, either or. I'd get a decent or elite quarterback and a playoff spot and a shot at the Super Bowl. Yep. I think that's kind of where we all are. We're all sort of just get it done. Illegally Beast Mode says, I'd be okay with another 10 years of being horrible if we get a Super Bowl. Yeah, right. It's would you be good with another 50? Maybe that's what it is. We sold our soul for number 12 to get us the ring the first time. Now we're going to sell our soul again for number 12 to get us the ring. And we're going to wait another 50 years for another bite of success. I'd do it. Screw it. I don't care. I want a ring. Tom Cahill. Aggressive. Rodgers for a third will do it. I like it. Optimism. Scott V says, what are they waiting for? I think if they were going to move on from him, they would by now. It's Aaron Rodgers. They're going to allow him the opportunity to put it this way. they're not going to move him or be perceived as going to move him. I shouldn't say perceived because they're already perceived, but I don't think they're going to come out and say, hey, we're going to move you if you decide you're not retiring. Like, I think they're going to let him decide if he wants to play or not. And behind closed doors, they've probably told him, like, hey, look, we're going to go this way. So you have to decide whether you're going to retire or you're going to play for the Jets. And that's ultimately what he's kind of weighing his options. I mean, you got to think, he's 38 years old. He's got to move his whole family to a new city. And if, like, the expectations are crazy high and he has, you know, these lofty expectations that he's supposed to be hitting and pulling us out of the dumpster, if we go like 1-3 to start the season, it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be a nightmare. He's going to hate being here. Like, you just got to win. I saw something with Mike White on some radio show down in Florida. He's already talking about possibly playing for the Dolphins. And like, oh, you know, it's hard to win in New York. What do you think about the Jets fans possibly thinking about Aaron Rodgers? And he goes, oh, you know, it's tough to win in New York. As long as you're winning, you're not going to have a problem. Aaron Rodgers will be fine. And like, that's kind of, it's like, oh, well, now he thinks it. Now, like, everyone else thinks it. It's got to happen, right? I think we're just waiting on the little bit of, will Rodgers actually say he's coming back? That's really, because no team's going to trade for him unless he wants to go there. That would be a bad decision. Aaron Haynes says, Aaron Rodgers or Derek Carr, it doesn't matter which one. The Jets fly high next season. Take flight, brother. I love it. William says, are the Raiders still betting favorites to get Rodgers? When I looked before, that's what it still said. So I'm a little surprised. But that doesn't necessarily mean, I guess that they are the betting favorites. But that's just based on where people are putting money, if I'm not overly wrong on that. I'm not the biggest of gamblers. NY Jet Superfan says, if Aaron Rodgers is thinking of retirement, move on, get Carr. Well, he's been contemplating retirement the whole time. I don't think it's anything new. Cashmere Black says, besides a quarterback, we need a ball hawk safety. Even though we were good defense, we don't force enough turnovers. I think we'll see that with good quarterback play. You are right. We do need a ball hawk safety, and I think it wouldn't surprise me, honestly, if we wound up taking one at 13. If you wind up trading for Rodgers and you can get his left tackle and center by way of like Bakhtiari and Corey Linsley, if he winds up getting cut, then offensive line isn't really so much of an issue, and then maybe 13 is that ball hawking safety. That would be pretty cool. I still want health on the offensive line, though. But what if you get the quarterback? By scoring more points, you will force the other team to throw more, thus allowing us to use our pass rush and our ball hawk safety. So I do think the quarterback, in a way, helps force more turnovers as well. Jets Cubs fan says, just got home from work. What am I missing? So basically, to sum up where I have kind of been already, Aaron Rodgers' decisions. According to Adam Schefter, he believes that it's going to come down to either Rodgers retiring or Rodgers getting traded to the Jets because the Packers are going to move on with Jordan Love. And it's weird that he specifically says the Jets or retire, because I would have thought the Dolphins should be involved. The Raiders, while they're still the betting favorites, it appears like they're out on the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. By way of like Titans GM, they were talking about, you know, Tannehill being their guy or whatever. I mean, it could all be GM speak, but who knows? I think we got a good shot. It's happening. We're going to get it. Gabriel says, we are going to lose Carr, and this guy is either going to screw us by leaving or end up screwing us by coming and causing more drama and not a Super Bowl berth. Yeah, it's the whole fear of the unknown. It could be the drama that comes with Aaron Rodgers with none of the good, right? Hope that's not the case. John Solo says, young Aaron Rodgers had a lot of the same issues Zach has. I think he'd be able to fix them. And if all works out, we can have Rodgers for 2 years and Zach for another 10. Yeah, John, that's what I've kind of been saying. Like, as much as people are saying Carr is the long-term answer, it's 4 or 5, potentially 6 years. With Aaron Rodgers, it's the 2 years and then the hope of whether it's Zach for the next 10 or another quarterback for the next 10. Because remember, we have a year and a half to decide on Zach. And I think if you determine at the end of next year that Zach is not the guy, I do think the Jets are going to wind up making a move for a quarterback that they can groom for one more year behind Aaron Rodgers. If they think he's made enough progress after that year, they may roll into the 4th year and just kind of give an extra year of evaluation. But I don't know if they're going to decide on that 5th-year option. $23 million is a lot to guarantee to a quarterback you may not necessarily be sure in. But like I said, I think bringing in Rodgers is a long-term option more than a short-term option, like you're saying here, John. Jim Batista says, I hate the idea of losing Mike White, especially to the Dolphins. Yeah, that like rubs me the wrong way. I was hoping White would go to like LA, but he's from Florida, so I guess it makes sense to back up Tua down there, and he gets hurt enough that there's a really good opportunity that he's going to have the chance to sling the rock all over the place, and he knows the inner workings of the New York Jets. Yeah, that's a problem. I do not want to see that. Let's see. NYC Super Fan says, if Rodgers is the most realistic way for us to hear JETS, 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 Jets echo throughout the Super Bowl stadium on the opening kick, then so be it. Yeah, right? How many of that's what that should be. I'm going to change the poll question. Poll question is now going to read, so now it says, what will Rodgers do? 33% say retire, 68% say go with the New York Jets. I'm going to change that. And it's going to say, would you sell your soul to get Aaron Rodgers? that's going to be what it is. Here we go. Would you sell soul for Rodgers plus Super Bowl? We'll see where you guys where you stand on that, right? Hennessy says, you really think Rodgers is God? He's supposed to win us a ring and fix Zach. Yeah, right. That's the, we're asking for too much. Too much. Edthrid. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Sorry, dude. Hi, Ryan. Have you heard the latest that New Orleans Saints are ready to sign Derek Carr? Surely we can't miss this fantastic opportunity and get Carr. Yeah, I'm sure they're trying to push all their chips into the table to get Carr because they probably realize that the Jets are a realistic option. The Carolina Panthers, their division rival, who Carr is meeting with and already met with in Indianapolis, is an option. I think the Saints want to get this over with so that way at least Carolina's not going that route. Yeah, with Carr, it seems like it's the Saints or the Jets. And I could see him maybe with Carolina on the off chance they think they may not get a quarterback sitting at 9. Carolina's in a weird spot. I'm not sure what to make of their particular quarterback situation. Rico the Pup says, Dupacabra. What are you talking about? Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about in there. Jet for Life. What should I do with my Zach Wilson jersey? Hold on to it. Who knows? You could paint a 1 next to it, right? You're good. Young Stench says, I think we're going to miss out on both guys getting that vibe today. Yeah, as this drags on further and further, I just worry that we're not going to get anyone at all. Nunzio says, I think Aaron Rodgers can win us a ring, but fixing Zach Wilson is a whole nother story. Yeah, that's almost more challenging, right? Fixing a broken quarterback versus winning something that's only been done once in our franchise history. That sounds terrible, but you're probably not wrong. Raven for Life says, Wilson is a bust. Give it up. Y'all need to look a different way. Get Rodgers. Win now. Wilson is a bust. He is horrible. Hey, he may be a bust. It's trending closer to that way than not. But at least you don't have to decide for another year and a half. You already got to pay him. So let him sit behind his idol, and if you get anything out of him, fucking gravy. If not, move on and figure it out. Anonymous 317 says, do you think Aaron Rodgers can fix Zach? His biggest problem is his confidence, which he has to fix himself. I don't know if it's his confidence. Confidence is one of the issues with Zach, but I think his biggest issue is the maybe not being able to believe in his offensive line or even the processing power of what he's seeing in front of him. It still feels like the game's too fast for him. Initially, his footwork was fine, but once the offensive line started to break down, he started getting these happy feet. So can you fix the happy feet, fix the offensive line, so that way Zach is not having those, panic tendencies, and then maybe you wind up seeing him hit those short throws, because if Zach can hit the easy throws, like those short screens and the flat passes, that's like 95% of being a quarterback. Those big bomb wow plays that he does, those are like the 5%. That's why we're so frustrated with Zach. It's the easy stuff. I don't know. Squirm Weasel says, we already went through this with Namath. Please, not again. He said, sell your soul for the Super Bowl. Who cares? Let's see what happens. 44% of you say you'd sell your soul for Rodgers in a Super Bowl. I didn't say what the trade compensation would be other than your soul. So we'll say it's like something not awful. It's not a first-round pick. We'll say a second-round pick. Something like that. Lucas K says, all the big moves last year, like Russ, Wentz, and Ryan. What happened the week before free agency? Carr and Rodgers will both be settled next week. Yeah, I forgot Wentz got traded last year. He's been an enigma. That friggin' 4 teams in 4 years, that's not good. Yeah, Russ, and then Rodgers signed right around now too, right? Like everything kind of broke down after the combine. I think this is where all these GMs and owners talk, and they're like, hey, yeah, no. Like everyone at the combine, we're all aware. All right, you guys are going with Jordan Love. Oh, and you, the Jet guys, that's the only place that wants to trade with us? Yeah, okay. That's the only place you're going to play. I think that's what happens. I think the combine is where a lot of work gets done. It's like getting done on a golf course, right? Like you're playing golf and you're doing business. That's that kind of thing, even though you're doing business while doing business at the combine. Jim DiBattista. I'm 68. I saw Super Bowl III. It was amazing, and unlike any New York sports team championship, Yankees, Mets, Giants, or hockey teams, Jets was the most special. Yeah, I feel like if you can win a ring as a New York Jet, there's no place Aaron Rodgers could go right now and win a Super Bowl, Green Bay included, where it would mean more to the NFL and to a city. The only other team, like maybe the Bears, but that's, clearly he's not getting traded within the division. But I think if you win a championship in New York, it is just so massive. I mean, think about the 2 trips we went to the AFC Championship game in back-to-back years with Mark Sanchez. The city was buzzing. I've never seen so many Jet fans out and about. It felt so good. Like everyone was wearing green and white. I'm about it. Ugh. Josh Kumbo says, why does everyone think Aaron Rodgers will be a problem to our locker room? He is a legend of the game and everyone respects and will improve everyone on the team. The only real drama is with him and the media. Yeah, I mean, we saw the Aaron Rodgers comment from that documentary that came out where he's saying like, hey, I'm not trying to start any drama. This is a decision I have to make. It's really just the media that's getting themselves worked up about it. I'm just here minding my own business. Like that, there is a little bit of that. I think he enjoys playing into it too. Do we think that he'll be a problem in the locker room? I do like the idea of Carr taking less money and like our star players maybe being impacted by that team first decision where Rodgers has you over a barrel year in and year out. I don't know if that's necessarily a problem though, because maybe you're I don't know. Sal always says something along the lines of like, we're trying to get these guys paid. We want you to perform well so that way you can get a contract either here or somewhere else. So maybe it's part of the messaging. Who knows? Moose City. What's up, dude? Says, I won't lie. I want Carr. Rodgers' prob is done after 1 year. Then we are back to the quarterback search. It's a position we don't need to be in. Yeah, and it's a weird spot, right? Like if Rodgers retires after a year, it's not as bad of a cap hit. Like I know we said the $60 million dead cap hit after the second year, but that's because there's a clause in his contract. It would only be a $45 million dead cap hit next year. And I would imagine if Rodgers were to retire, that would get split over 2 years. He'd restructure so that way that trigger wasn't like February 10th or whatever it is next season. But yeah, I don't want to be in. I mean, even if Rodgers does not retire after a year, we're still in the same position for the next 3 years. Who's our quarterback this year? Then next year it'd be like, okay, is Aaron Rodgers retiring? Is he coming back? And then the next year, all right, Aaron Rodgers likely is retired. Did we draft someone to compete with Zach Wilson the year before, or are we now searching for another quarterback again? It's exhausting. Now, this is a good comment. Carrie Pickroad says 2023 going on 2009. Ugh. I like it. I like it. I'd go back to those times. Give me 2 AFC Championship games back to back. Percy, Packers fan, says, you can have Aaron Rodgers right now for Garrett Wilson, a first this year and a first next year. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Nah. Yeah, okay. Eat his $60 million dead cap hit. All power to you. You could have a $60 million backup quarterback. You're going to get traded. He's going to get traded. It's not even going to cost a first. It might be a conditional first next year. But if you think you're getting Garrett Wilson, you are high, my friend. All right, who else we got in here? NYC Superfan says, I would name my firstborn after the quarterback that leads us to a Super Bowl. Ooh. I named my daughter after the old stadium we played in, so I guess that's totally fine. Is there a girl name for Aaron Rodgers? Amanda Rodgers. Would that be the female name? I don't know. Nunzo says Aaron Rodgers with a chip would want to come to New York. Without a chip, he probably retires. Depends how much he has left to prove in his view. Yeah, if he feels motivated, I don't want him just to come in for the money. Like, he needs to commit to every offseason program, and then we're golden. We want full commitment. We need to teach our young quarterback the right way to do things, and we'll pay a premium in draft picks and money to get that done. Dupacabra says, at this point, it's either Lamar Jackson, a rookie, or bust. Nope. No, it's not. I don't believe so. Krypton says, question, that graphic you have up says return to pack, not on table. So is that really from Schefter? Yes, that is from Schefter. I'll pull up the little article again. We can discuss it because I'm sure we got some more people in here from last time. So this was an article over on Bleacher Report that was quoting Adam Schefter. Reported Friday on SportsCenter that he believes Rodgers will either be traded to the New York Jets or opt for retirement. But this is basically the article. You can pause it. I'm not going to go through everything because I butcher stuff when I read it out loud on screen. But basically, he's saying the Packers have already decided they are going forward with Jordan Love. So returning to the Packers is not going to be an option for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I guess unless they want to have him for like a $60 million backup. I don't know if like the Packers, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to force the Packers to play him. I would be surprised. I think Rodgers went through the whole weird situation with Brett Favre, and I think he respects Love enough not to put him through that type of ordeal. If Rodgers really wanted to be a prick about it, he could force the Packers to at least keep him on the roster. I don't know how it would work if they were to try and cut him. I don't think that works that way. I'm pretty sure it would be an even bigger dead cap hit than just holding on to him. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, apparently, according to Adam Schefter, it's retire or go to the Jets. Billy Milanovic says, bottom line, Aaron Rodgers equals Super Bowl, period. Let's shoot for the heavens. Yeah, right? Like, if you're going to take a swing, take a big crack at it. That gets me excited. I'll throw $100 on Jets for a Super Bowl. Why not? CF Sports Club says Derek Carr is the safest bet, not necessarily the best bet, but the safest. Will get us where we need to go. I think the plan is probably similar with Rodgers or Carr. I don't necessarily know if I don't think the scouting side of our organization necessarily believes Carr is like the guy that's going to consistently have you contending for a Super Bowl year in and year out. So I think we'd still, behind the scenes, be scouting quarterbacks through the draft, and Carr would just be more of a bridge that teaches our team how to win and change our culture and things of that, which is totally fine. It's just a matter of like which bridge do you kind of go down. I'm good with either one, I'll be honest. I like Derek Carr a lot. Dyke Tyson says, I can only imagine how incredible of a year Garrett Wilson would have with Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball. He got 1,100 yards and Offensive Rookie of the Year from 4 different shit quarterbacks, all in for 2 years of Rodgers, Super Bowl or bust. Yeah, imagine having like going from 3 straight years of not having a quarterback throw 10 touchdowns to having the last time this quarterback played with our offensive coordinator had like 40 touchdowns and like 4 interceptions. When's the last time we had a quarterback that threw less interceptions than touchdowns? I don't even know. I feel like it's every year we're over that threshold. Carrie says ESPN needs to stop filling y'all heads with this crap. Sorry, it's a discussion. Glad you came by. Bruce Charlie says, I don't know why, but I have a bad feeling Mike White will be our quarterback for 2023, 2024. I think that's probably the safest bet not to happen. I would be very surprised. Unless we traded Zach and something went absolutely horrible with our other quarterback that we bring in, Mike White is not going to be here. Let's see. Three Amigos says, no way, it's like buying an election, grassroots for life. Yeah, look, I understand that. You want to win with the guy you developed, but that's also what you're trying to do. You're trying to win with Zach eventually, but you just have to have that bridge year. In order to get to that grassroots situation, you might have to, get a little help getting to that point. We'll see. Wyatt Why it says Packers fan here. Would you take Rodgers? Packers fan here. Would you take Rodgers, a 2023 third and a 2024 third for your 2023 first and a second plus conditional 2024 second? No. Nope. Would not take that. I would say I don't think the Jets are going to have to give up a first. That's the thing. Like, if Rodgers decides he's playing, the Packers are going to have to trade him. It's not an option to keep him on Green Bay, I don't think. I think you guys are screwed from like a value perspective. I think the most logical thing for the Jets to do is to give you our second and a conditional first next year based on if he returns, like if he's on the active roster for the start of the new league year next year, and or maybe by the draft to give him that long. And then you guys get a first if we get to like the Super Bowl. But I don't think, if we're the only option as far as like where you can trade him, and that's the only place he wants to go, it's going to be tough. If the Jets are going to have to get into a bidding war for Rodgers, I don't know if we're going to give up what's going to be needed, especially if Carr seems like a pretty decent option. So as far as like a first and 2 seconds, we'd also get a 2 thirds. It's not as jarring, but I don't think the Jets are going to have to give up a first. I think that's more so what it is. I'd rather keep the first this year and not take your 2 thirds. Johnny Bravo says, if you stay Lamar, you prove you know nothing about football. If you say Lamar, I just don't think Lamar's coming here. I think he's going to Atlanta. Jets Gang says, you ain't saying nothing right. You're wrong. Still can't say how Rodgers winning a ring with Jets can't win in NFC with the 1 seed. Are you saying the Packers are better than the Jets this past year? I mean, he never won a ring as the 1 seed. I think he won the ring as a wild card. I think he had to play in all 4 rounds, I think he had to win 4 games to get his ring. Yeah, I think he can win with the Jets. I mean, look, damn, friggin' Zach Wilson beat the Buffalo Bills with 150 yards. Yeah, you're damn right I think we could win with friggin' Aaron Rodgers. Get the hell out of here. What do you think about it, Jets Gang? Come on, get with the picture. Young Stench says, I'm going to start calling Rodgers Karen Rodgers now. I like it. That's a good nickname. Anytime he's getting a little whiny. CFS Sports Club says, Lamar Jackson hasn't had an MVP season since 2019. He's never been able to replicate that. He wants a ton of guaranteed money, and he's injury-prone. Hard pass. Yeah, everything would have to really go wrong for that to happen. It would really have to go wrong for the Jets to wind up with Lamar. I don't think it's a realistic option just because if Baltimore's passing on him, I don't see Douglas, who's from Baltimore, wanting to foot the bill for that. Like that seems wrong. Bob says, at this point, I would sign Jimmy G and save the draft picks that Rodgers would cost. All this team needs is a field manager, not an aged superstar. But if Aaron Rodgers can be that game manager for you, your field manager you're talking his cap hits the next 2 years are $15 million and $32 million. That's going to be less than Derek Carr. Like Derek Carr is going to be a few more years of it. But if you're talking from a purely cost-effective manner for the next 2 years, I mean, you're going to have to get hit with the dead cap hit at some point. You got to pay the piper, but I think you could have a better shot at winning with a cheaper Rodgers than with a more expensive Carr for these next 2 years. It's weird. It's funky because Carr's not going to make as much as Rodgers over 2 years, but it's like because of the cap structure would be a little funky. Now maybe I don't know, maybe we're going over to a new contract with Carr where we try to structure it the same way, but the way Kirk Cousins made his deal, he didn't really lower his cap hit in the first few years of his contract because of the way it was structured. So I'm not sure. Ryan, what's your gut feeling on who's the quarterback going to be? I've been saying for a while, for a long time it was Rodgers. I would say the last week had me a little more thinking Derek Carr. And I do think the personality of Carr is something that the team really likes, but I think Douglas may realize devoting that much cap to a quarterback that if your team doesn't necessarily think is the Super Bowl caliber quarterback, may not be the best move. I think you try for Rodgers, and then I think if that doesn't pan out and he retires, you go for Carr. And I think that's fine. I'm good with that. I think you can win with Derek Carr. I think Rodgers just makes the most sense. I think they want to help Zach. I think they want to try and win something with Rodgers. I think the owners are going to love Rodgers. I think Douglas and Saleh guarantee themselves basically 2 years at least with Aaron Rodgers, and it probably gives them an extra quarterback to draft and develop if Zach doesn't become the option over this course of the next year and a half. I think we have enough success from like what we've been building that if Rodgers has even a playoff run, it's going to go a long way for the staff. So I think Rodgers just makes so much damn sense for everything involved. We'll see. We'll see. Richard Leslie says, I'm sure Aaron, she's so pretty, Rodgers, has more class than to love what Favre did to him. I'm not sure I know what that means. I don't think Rodgers is going to do what Favre did to him. Hennessy Heisman says, can't wait for Aaron to be in a cave during OTAs. Oh, man, that would suck. That would be sucking the wind out of everything. I would not like that at all. What else are you guys talking about in here? Krypton says, Derek Carr is a very good quarterback who played for a dysfunctional organization, and the last straw was Josh frickin' McDaniels. Yeah, there's a lot in the basket of hope for Derek Carr. Like I can look at Derek Carr and I can say, I can see a Super Bowl from him. I can see a motivated quarterback, but I get the concern. I think the concern is valid. Like, people bring up his cold weather stats. I still think his cold weather stats are enough to win us games. Like, I think Zach throwing for 150 against the Bills without AVT and Brees in perfect weather was enough for us to beat that team. Like, I think Derek Carr will be just fine. Let's see. Citybert comes in. Citybert says, since Raiders and maybe other teams have allegedly dropped out, doesn't that mean Green Bay loses trade leverage and we can keep our first this year? Yes, that is exactly what it means. That's what's so exciting about this whole last few days. I saw, Raiders are rumored to be out on Aaron Rodgers. Now, there's still more teams that I feel like should be in on Aaron Rodgers. Like, I think Miami should be. I think Tennessee could be. I think Miami would be the place. If I were Rodgers, I would choose to go because that's an $11 million difference in contract between Miami and us, just because of the way the contract is structured and how it would have to be taxed. Normally, a contract is taxed based on your base salary and where you play each game throughout the season, and that still is how his contract would be structured, but the option bonus is paid out as a signing bonus, which is taxed immediately in the state you're given it. Or in the state of that organization. So his base salary of I think it's $1 million or $2 million, that would be what would be taxed differently over the different states, not the big bonus coming here. But yes, they would lose a lot of leverage. And I would think if the Raiders are out and it's just the Jets, I'm not offering you 13. I'll give you maybe a condition. I'll be nice and give you the conditional first next year if you throw in Bakhtiari as well. That's how you get a first from me. Red John says, if you had to choose Tannehill, Jameis, or Mike White, which one would I choose? I like Mike White the most. I just don't trust him to stay healthy. I would probably take Mike White of those three. I would say Tannehill, his ceiling is probably no better than anything. It's probably around the same as Mike White. I think Mike White could be even higher. I think Tannehill's ceiling's limited. Jameis has a lot of potential. I think he would be better. But then he comes with the turnovers, and he also comes with some questionable decision making. I don't particularly love that. I would take Mike White if it were me. Al Tuna Sandwich. What's up, dude? Says, I have just emerged from my sensory deprivation chamber. I have decided that Rodgers will be a Jet. Stamp it. Marked for approval. I like it. He's going to be a Jet. Fingers crossed. DKBX Jets says, how big of a talent gap do you feel there is between Carr and Rodgers? I feel like there's a pretty big one. Aaron Rodgers' down year last year with a broken thumb and an offensive coordinator that, he didn't have the 3 years prior, put up stats that we're hoping to get from Derek Carr. Or at least that Derek Carr has consistently put up. Like Aaron Rodgers, to me, you're getting 4,000 yards from Derek Carr. You're probably getting about 25 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. That's like, for Carr, that is the awesome game manager that he's going to be. You're going to win with your running game and your defense. With Rodgers, if you get behind and you need to try and come back, I think Rodgers is the level of quarterback that can do that for you. I think a highly motivated Rodgers and a pissed off Rodgers could be similar to a pissed off Brett Favre that played on the Vikings after his time with the New York Jets. So where's the gap? I think it's pretty large from a talent perspective from Rodgers to Carr. I don't know if the end result is necessarily that different. I think you may have the same percentage chance of winning a Super Bowl over 5 years with Carr as you do with Rodgers in 2 years. That's kind of the best way I've found to maybe describe how I'm feeling there. June Smith says, I'd rather have a good quarterback in his prime with a chip on his shoulder than a 40-year-old diva quarterback at the end of his career playing with nothing to prove. Yeah, you would have to piss off Aaron Rodgers enough that he's motivated to come here. Like, I want him to want to be a New York Jet. I don't want him to just, sit back. Whatever. We'll see. Citybert, what's up, dude? Citybert says, who we franchising, if any? We're not going to franchise anyone. We don't have anyone worth the franchise tag right now. We need to restructure some of our own guys. O'Leary's in here. What's up, dude? O'Leary says, we will know the quarterback by this time next week. 3:10, I think, yes. Yeah, that's a good thought process. I thought we were going to find out that Rodgers was returning a few days ago, and we haven't even heard that yet. But I do believe all these teams, let's see, what would that be? That would be the 10th? Yeah, maybe the 10th. And then you have a weekend to restructure all your other guys. I think maybe we find out Rodgers is returning, and then we start restructuring stuff, and that'll be the tip off. But yeah, it's going to happen before that tampering period on Monday. We want to have enough of a leg up on those free agents talking to us versus talking to another team. Older than dirt Jets fan says, Rodgers would be great, but what is the cost? Besides, they only have him for 2 years. Well, that's just it. It's 2 years. How much is a Super Bowl potentially worth for you for 2 years of Rodgers? It would have been worth it first to me, no problem. But now that there's no teams in the race and it's like perceivably just the Jets, fuck off. Take my second and get out of here. That's kind of where my feelings at on this. Look at Jet Life. What a good guy. Hit the thumbs up for our guy, Ryan. It's a good man. Let's see. How much time I got? We're at 43 minutes now. We'll cap this at an hour. We'll go an hour, and then we'll do something different. Richard Leslie says, not for anything. Anyone who takes a beating like Mike White did in Buffalo deserves a couple of games to recover. Yeah, I agree. I think Mike White... I love what Mike White did. He put his body on the line, and I think our entire team wants White for that. Now, if he could have stayed healthy, or if we could reset the dial like another year, it just sucks. It sucks. I'm frustrated. I like Mike White. The kid's got guts. Krypton says, is Rodgers a diva because he tells the truth? People can't handle the truth. I think Rodgers is a diva. I think Rodgers is perceived more as a diva because of what the media does to him. I think that does amplify things. But Rodgers absolutely knows what he's doing, and he knows how to play the media. He's been in the league for 20 years. He understands, the little things he says or does or doesn't do are going to create little ripples. Now, how amplified are those going to be in the New York market compared to a Green Bay market? I don't know. Maybe it's the same because of the caliber of quarterback he is, but I would tend to think it's probably going to be a lot louder here. We'll see. I don't think he's necessarily... I think he's a diva, but I think the media makes him a bigger diva maybe than he always is. I think he's also kind of a dick, but You might have to be a dick to be this good. O'Leary says a second this year. I don't think they get pick 13. I completely agree, Matt. Completely agree. Jay drops in. Jay says, what's the odds for opening day quarterback? Rodgers, Carr, or any chance Zach Wilson is opening day quarterback? I don't think there's any chance Zach Wilson is the opening day quarterback, short of a catastrophic injury, and we don't have any cap space to like bring in someone else. I would be very surprised if Zach was the starting quarterback. I would say if I'm a gambling man, I would lean 65% Rodgers, 35% Carr, 0% chance for Zach. That would be where I'd probably go there. Kev Chatta, can we see Rodgers take the same amount of punishment White did? No, I don't think he would take the same punishment that White did, but I think he's a better quarterback than White, and I don't think he would need to. I think he'd get the ball out fast enough, or at least see enough pre-snap that maybe White was not necessarily keying in on, that would allow him to be better. Also, Rodgers is probably going to have a healthy backfield and at the very least not as bad of an offensive line. So hopefully it's, he won't have to take that kind of beating. Ooh, O'Leary says, you know who else was a diva? Joe Namath. If you win, nobody gives a hoot. O'Leary dropping facts. I like it. CBiz says Carr is too mid to hang with Mahomes, Allen, Burrow. Go to the NFC. Our staff has to make a statement to contend. Can't just rely on defense. Yeah, right. Like if you have to rely on the quarterback's arm, is Carr going to be able to provide enough to get you back in a game or a shootout where you have Herbert, Mahomes, Burrow? I think he could. I really do. But Rodgers, can. Bruce Charlie says plus 5,000 odds Zach Wilson starts. Dave the Dude says, Ryan, Rodgers will be playing your course in June. Let's see how much of a dick he is. I hope so. Aaron Rodgers, you come to New Jersey, I'll get you a free round of golf. It'll happen. Come find me. Ragna Jet says, yeah, from Aaron's words, I gather he's got a chip on his shoulder and he's highly motivated to win and even said he'll be excited with his decision. Excitement isn't staying in Green Bay, it's winning with the Jets. Yeah, that's interesting. Unless he already told the Packers, like, hey, like, I want to come back. I'm excited to come back. And now they're like, we're moving you. You got to be excited to either go to the Jets or you got to be excited to retire. I think it could be either one. Hopefully it's the Jets, though. Altoona Sandwich drops in again. Thank you, dude. Says Hackett and Downing will unleash Mims and David Stein. I think Mims has a very good chance of breaking out this year. Not just him. I would say a few guys on our offense that have kind of underperformed, Zach being, potentially one of them. I think Laken Tomlinson could have a resurgence this year, having another year in the system. Not in the system, but having another year with players that he's maybe more comfortable with in year two, unless you change up McGovern and a new tackle. I don't know. I'd like to believe we could find more firepower on offense based on guys returning, like a Breece Hall, like an AVT. Maybe you get some more out of Mims or out of maybe the tight ends or something along those lines. Elijah Moore. There's a lot of hope for players that could increase with just better quarterback play and a new offensive system. I really like that sort of stuff. Jimmy from Seattle says Saints are gonna go hard for Carr. I feel Salah dropped hints to Rodgers and Packers saying all the lovey-dovey-ish to push a decision. No, I think they know they gotta wait. The way Salah was talking is he's like, we're going to let everyone make their decision. And it was clearly, talking about Rodgers making his decision and Carr making his decision, but everything's held up because of the Rodgers move first. DKB Jet says, are you taking a tight end late? I think we move from CJ next year, and it would give us two young tight ends in Conklin, with both young guys not having been thrown to the fire. Yeah, I do think the Jets are going to take a tight end at some point, whether it's, undrafted free agency, maybe a late round flyer on a guy. I think it's possible. It depends how they want to run the offense. If they want a third, maybe bigger wide receiver or another guy that might replace a Corey Davis, or do they want to go after like an elite level like tight end? Like, is there someone in this draft that they deem as like could be a Kittle or a Kelsey or something like that? Or like, I'm fine with a weapon. It doesn't necessarily have to be a receiver, but I do like the idea of having our draft picks sit a year behind a veteran, learn how to do it, and then take over the following year. I think that's where the Jets are starting to get with their drafts. That's kind of why you saw Ruckert sitting behind for a little bit. That's why we had Lawson here and you had Clemens sitting, to some sort of extent. Same with Jermaine Johnson. We didn't throw him to the fire. In years past, we wouldn't have had Carl Lawson. We wouldn't have had Vinny Curry. It would have been Jermaine Johnson starting with Clemens on the outside. And then, they're thrown to the fire, which some guys do well in that circumstance. Other times, guys flounder. I like the idea of grooming someone so that way you can show them how to be a professional at the NFL level. So I think the Jets can do it. Oh, there it is. Matt, there you go. I forgot David Stein was Elijah's burner. That was the rumor. That I was so thrown off by that last comment. I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Thank you, Matt. I needed that in there. Let's see. June says Jets beat Brady, Rivers, and Manning in the playoffs. Doesn't mean that Sanchez was a better quarterback. It's true. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to be a better quarterback than Mahomes and Burrow and Herbert. You just have to have a better team than their defense, because it's your defense versus them. And I trust our defense against any quarterback. So really, any quarterback you bring in, you just have to trust them over that team's defense. Dyke Tyson says, I love a diva that wins. I'll take whatever comes along with him. Rodgers is worth it. He's going to have MVP caliber this year for whatever team he ends up with. Please let it be the Jets. Well, if it's not the Jets and it winds up being the Dolphins, we're going to be losing our minds. We're going to be absolutely bonkers. Let's see. Hader Ali says, compensation for Rodgers will be something like swapping 13 for 15, a third round this year and a third next year. Second, if we make the playoffs. First, if a championship game. What say you, brother? Go Jets. That's not a bad trade. I would trade down 2 picks if I had to. I don't think we're going to have to, though. I really don't. Although, I would move down 2 picks if I didn't have to give up the second. That would be interesting, because that difference in 15 to 13 may be the difference in the Packers actually getting the tackle. Because there's a shot that 13 pick is getting a choice of 1 or 2 tackles, and then the 14 pick, which is the Patriots, that may very well go tackle at that spot. So I think the Packers who might be losing David Bakhtiari, may want to get that tackle. Interesting. So if it was a trade of the first round pick this year and a third, that means we can still get the center in the second round. If we trade back to 15, I would try to trade back again. I don't know if I want to make the pick at 15. I'd probably try to pick up an extra pick. I don't mind that. I would do that trade. Panther Man 16 breaking. Rodgers goes to the Rams in a trade. Says he wants to play for Mike LaFleur. Oh, God. David Hall, if Aaron Rodgers actually goes to Miami, one of the most dangerous teams in the AFC, and he doesn't pay income tax. Like, to me, Rodgers definitely seems like the guy that's, at this point in his career, I think he wants nice weather after playing in the cold for a long time. I think he likes the weapons in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I don't know. I think if you want to say that he could have been a fit for the Shanahan offense and going to San Francisco last year, maybe going to a Shanahan disciple with Mike McDaniel makes a ton of sense. I really do. And I don't know why it's not being talked about more than, I guess it's been talked about the last 2 days, but before then it wasn't like at all. DKB says, one concerning comment from Rodgers was him saying he thinks he could win another MVP. I think Gronk called him out on why he didn't want a Super Bowl. Maybe just one of those obvious things. I think it's... I don't know. I think a lot of people harp on the MVP thing. Like, he thinks he can come back and play MVP caliber ball. I don't think... He thinks he can come back and win another MVP. Like, that's... I don't know if that's his motivation to come back. He says if he wants to come back, it's to win it all. There was an extended clip of that Pat McAfee show that a lot of people kind of clipped off the one portion, and it made it seem like it was only like he was going to play for an MVP, but I don't think that's the case. I think he's going to have to buy in all over. Let's see. Al Tuna Sandwich says, if Rodgers goes to Miami, Jets Twitter and Jets YouTube will spontaneously combust. People are going to lose their damn minds. If Rodgers goes to Miami, you're going to see me have a meltdown on this channel. And then I'm going to like bitch and moan that we're in a division with Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers, and now all of us Jet fans will be doom and gloom, even if we get Derek Carr, because we're going to try it. Like at best, we're still considered the third best team in our division at the start of the season. That sucks. I hope that's not the case. Dwayne O says, I just want permission to talk to him, then decide. Are you talking about the Jets talking to Rodgers? Like, hey, Rodgers, we want to have a discussion with you. I guess it's just the Packers that have to allow Rodgers to talk to us. I don't know why that wouldn't be a discussion already. Also, it's just for maybe the optics of like not shopping. I think there's a little bit of a pissing match that might kind of happen where it's like, okay, Rodgers doesn't want to be the one to leave Green Bay, and Green Bay doesn't want to be the one to trade Aaron Rodgers. Like if Green Bay says like, hey, we're going with Love, and Rodgers says, hey, look, I just don't want to go through a rebuild. Then I think that's like the happiest little split, and then they will talk to him before he's traded. Mac Jig says, please no more about Rodgers. If he was a drug, we'd all be overdosing. No wonder he has an ego the size of a beach ball. He's talked about morning, noon, and night. Please, enough already with Aaron. I feel like we've been talking about Derek Carr the same way. It's like all of ESPN's been Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers. No matter who we get, they're both divas. Not really, but you know what I'm saying. Let's see. Dyke goes, is there any chance that Rodgers would be willing to play for either the Jets or the Dolphins? Do you think Woody and Douglas let Miami beat us out? Yeah, well, that's the issue, right? Like what happened with the Texans was they allowed teams to offer trade packages. The same thing with the Raiders and Carr. It's like, hey, teams, offer up what you're willing to trade for him. Now we'll let Rodgers talk to those teams. They could do that, but in the event Rodgers wants to return to Green Bay, they may just have to say, like, look, we got to trade you wherever you want to go because we can't afford to have you, not sign or retire on the new team. So, but if it goes into a bidding war, I do think Miami should be involved with this trade, regardless of whether or not they want him, for the same reason that I thought the Jets needed to be in on the Tyreek Hill trade, whether or not we got him last year. You need to drive up the price for your division rival. I mean, talk about like a hindsight being 2020 with like the ultimate 4D chess move with the Browns signing Deshaun Watson and giving him that massive contract. Yeah, they look like a scum organization, but now their division rival either has to go into financial like crushing contract negotiations with Lamar Jackson, or they're getting a former MVP out of their division. They paid $230 million fully guaranteed to remove a 26-year-old MVP from the division. Sometimes things work out good if you just are in the game. Jake Claus says, Rodgers is just taking a piss. He is messing with the Packers for all the years he had to watch the Favre spectacle. I hope so. Hopefully he's just complaining a little bit. David Dude says, Ryan, Rodgers' deal's already done. It all comes down to if he still wants to play. Carr is waiting for Rodgers' situation to play out. The Jets were already up front with Carr. I completely agree. I think they had that discussion when he came in, saying like, hey, look, we have a trade package in place for Aaron Rodgers. In the event he retires, we think this is the best move, for our young quarterback that we still want to, look at investing in. We have no problem paying you, Derek Carr, all that money. We're just making sure. Actually, they probably didn't tell him that, but I think both sides probably understand that it's in their best interest to at least hype up the Derek Carr and Jet things, whether it be for the Jets trying to push Rodgers to maybe make a decision quicker, or for Carr to get more money. So, but yeah, I do think Rodgers. I think there's a trade in place. I think there's been a trade in place ever since we got Hackett. Tony Hackney says, why won't Rodgers just sit in Green Bay? They can't make him retire, or he could sit and make his money. He could sit and make his money, but I do think Rodgers doesn't want to put Love through the same thing that Brett Favre was put through. Not that Rodgers was put through with Brett Favre. I think he'll make the decision now to avoid the weird, awkward tension that happened throughout like July of when Favre decided he wanted to come back. He could. If Rodgers said he could dig in, I would love to see the Packers just say, "Hey, we're your second quarterback. Like, sorry, we got to roll with Jordan Love. Like, will Rodgers want to be the backup?" I don't think they would actually do that, but like, their next play would be if Rodgers wants to play in Green Bay and they say, "Hey, look, we're moving on with Jordan Love. If you're going to force us to be here, we're moving on from Bakhtiari. We're not bringing back Randall Cobb. Lazard's gone. Adrian Amos is gone. Mason Crosby's gone. Like all the guys you really like and want to play with, they're going to be gone. Like we're not bringing them back. You're not playing GM for us anymore. We don't think, we're at that point anymore. We've given you the money. You've earned it over the course of your entire career. We're going to pay the piper right now. We would love to trade you elsewhere so you could try to win a ring." I think that's the conversation that winds up happening. I think they just don't re-sign his guys. And that's what ultimately pushes him to go to a different direction. And the Jets can just so happen to sign like literally every single one of those players if they wanted to. We need a left tackle. We need a backup slot. We need a receiver to possibly replace Corey Davis. You need a safety in Adrian Amos, who Joe Douglas did scout in as the director of player personnel in Chicago. And you could potentially need a kicker because Zerline's a free agent. So legitimately, you could bring in every single person that they want or that he wants. Moose City says, "I have a gut feeling he retires. I think our defense is going to be the best in the league. Give me a quarterback above average and we make a playoff run." Yeah, you just sort of wait, right? Like if he's all in on playing, he's the answer. I think that's fine. A motivated Rodgers won 2 MVPs with our offensive coordinator. I think if you can get that level of play out of him, that's the move all day. Because it's not going to cost you as much as it would have. Everyone was thinking it's going to be a first plus more. I don't think that's the case. I really don't. I don't think it's going to cost you as much as people were thinking initially. But if he does retire, which I think is equally possible, I don't say it's 95% Jets or anything like that. I think I think he could contemplate wanting to retire and not dealing with it. In which case, maybe he works out a new contract with the Packers where it eliminates some of their financial liability in some capacity, and he makes a little bit less money to retire. Like maybe that's the other play that could happen. I could see it. I think Rodgers has always liked the idea of playing for one franchise his entire career, so it wouldn't shock me. So I think Carr is definitely on the table, but you just wait to see if you can get greatness before going for hoped greatness. Ron Weiss, thank you, dude, says, "Rodgers should come in and be our Mark Messier." Yes, I completely agree. He should come in. Win at the end of his career? Whew. See how it works. Rob is so tired of the drama already, and the diva isn't a Jet at this point. Jetta Buttercup says, "The income tax stuff is so overblown." I don't think it is. Just because of the way his contract works. Is it overblown? Maybe a little bit with Rodgers, but $11 million is not nothing. That's a lot of dough. I would like to see the NFL allow high income tax states to match the offer of a non-income tax state without being liable for the salary cap portion of the difference that the tax makes. I feel like there's a huge strategic advantage for all these non-income tax states that just has no benefit for the other teams. It completely eliminates parity in that respect. Al Tuna Sandwich drops it again. Says, "Woody will guarantee to Rodgers that he will get him Jennings and Blossom. Will get Ken Jennings and Blossom fired and get Rodgers hired to host Jeopardy after the season, 2 seasons with the Jets." Yeah, could you imagine Woody Johnson has some pull in the TV networks to get him on Jeopardy? He was good. It seemed like he was like, "Oh, maybe I'm contemplating Jeopardy instead of coming back to the Packers." I wonder how much that contract would be. Tom Brady got what, $500 million or $300 million from Fox just to talk to him? That's crazy. Hennessy says, "What stops Carr from going to another team if the Jets were dumb enough to tell him we are waiting on Rodgers?" Yeah, it would just be like if Carr thinks the Jets are the best chance to win. I think Carr wants someone who's in on him more so then yeah, you probably wouldn't tell him that Rodgers is the first option. You'd probably have to say like, hey, we're exploring all our options. Wink, wink. You should explore all your options. Wink, wink. But let's go, let's go forward. If our options don't work out and your options don't work out, we'll be the highest bidder. That's could have been what they told him. Okay, don't worry. You're going to get the money regardless. Andrew Yakos says, if Aaron's choice is retirement or Jets, how good should we feel? I do think there's 110 million reasons for Rodgers to not retire. And for someone who's made 300 million over his career, 110 million over 2 versus 300 over 18, I feel like the money is going to be too good to pass up. And I think he's wanted to play. I think he just likes the drama of it all. But if he has to retire, that would be such a slap in the face. I hope that's not the case. I don't want it being reported like, yeah, his only options were to play for the Jets or to retire. Shit. Now we look even worse because, Kirk Cousins took less money to play elsewhere. Aaron Rodgers said, record-setting deal for 2 years? Screw that. I'm going to retire and sit on the couch. Oh, that would be bad news. That would be so embarrassing. We'd have to sign Carr. Bruce Charlie says, you're telling me players don't take into account what their checks are going to look like before they sign with a team. LMAO. Yes, they're absolutely going to. Let's see. June Smith says, every real Jet fan knows that when we're expected to win, we all don't. Give me my Carr. Yeah, if you get Carr, the expectations is lower. Like the pressure isn't quite as high as when you have Rodgers. As soon as you get Rodgers, it's like dial it up to 1,000,000. It's Super Bowl or bust, baby. Oof. Pantherman says, yes, you get taxed where you play in pro sports, but that is your base salary, not your signing bonus. Aaron Rodgers is going to get a bonus option that will be fully paid in the state that he winds up playing for. So his base salary will get taxed across all the different games that he plays, but not that massive bonus. So you're talking a $1 million that gets taxed over the course of 17 games in 17 different locations, but no, not 17, but whatever, versus one lump sum non-taxed. Jim Batista says, oh, come on, this brother is in the media. Oh, come on, his brother is in the media. It's no big secret what Jets want to do anyway, Matt. Did I miss something? I missed something in here. I don't know what you're talking about. David, Jets want Zach Wilson, Baker to compete for starting spot, but all media attention is good for the brand. If we wind up with Baker and it's Baker versus Zach, I'm going to be so upset. It's going to be such a long fall from where we thought we were. Matthew Smith, best place to be is when expectations are best place to be is where expectations are high. Rex Ryan. I guess that's nice because then it would be. I guess that would be like you're going to the best spot then because the expectations are high. Pantherman says correct about the bonus. They do need to change that and give us the bonus. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. It's just the. Because of the structure of his contract, you are correct. It's just the bonus that's a little wonky. Frank says, if we get Rodgers, do we send them Lawson to save cap space? I mean, I think we're gonna cut Lawson anyway. If he could be used in some kind of capacity for a trade because the Packers don't think they can get him on the open market, that's fine. But I think he's gonna have to move most of that entire $15 million over to the Packers. And they don't have a whole crazy ton of cap space, and they have less after they trade Aaron Rodgers. So I don't think so. Ragnar Jet says, Connor Hughes said with Aaron, the Jets are not the only Super Bowl contender, but the favorite to win. Not only the Super Bowl contender, but the favorite to win. Yeah, I think a favorite to win. Yeah, I don't know if it's the favorite. We have to get to the playoffs. We haven't been there in a while. But I would say yes. Okay, all right. We're over an hour right now. Let's see. I think I'm going to button that back up. So the The option in the poll question in the chat says, would you sell your soul for Aaron Rodgers and a Super Bowl? 57% of you say no. 43% say yes. 43% of you are wrong. Run it back with name if 12 does it again. Dave the Dude says, just send in some love. Dave the Dude, DTD, down to dude. Love you, dude. Thank you so much. Oh, all right. That was fun. Good little hour here. I've got some fun stuff coming up next week for the Talking Jets panel. I don't know if O'Leary's still in here. O'Leary and Greenbean know about it, but it's going to be kind of neat. You guys are going to have your minds blown. We're going to have some stuff to talk about and some fun things to add. But this is where we're leaving things off. Aaron Rodgers apparently may not have the option to go back to Green Bay if they're moving on with Jordan Love, which means retirement or possibly the New York Jets, according to Adam Schefter. Which one will he ultimately decide? I don't know. I just want it over with. I'm done talking about this subject. And by done, I mean I'll be here tomorrow doing the same damn thing. Boys and girls, it's been a lot of fun. This is Jets Talk signing off. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out. And as always, go Jets. Jets!